Hey, what's up guys? I hope you're all fantastic. I have another episode of my top 100 movies from the 1980s. We're about 70 movies into this thing, and today I'm covering movies number 30 through 21. This collection of classics is going to have some comedies, some coming-of-age tales, plenty of action, some fantasy, a little sci-fi, a splash of horror, and more. As always, all the synopsises for these movies will be down in the description. I won't be covering them in this video just to keep the pace moving along quickly. Also, if this is your first time here and you've missed any of the past episodes in this series, I will have them linked down below as well for you guys to catch up on if you'd like. So with all the introductions in the books, let's dive into another 10 great movies from the 1980s. Kicking things into gear at number 30 is a film set during the dawn of World War III. The invading armies planned for everything except for 8 kids called the Wolverines in the 1984 action thriller Red Dawn, starring Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen, Leah Thompson, Jennifer Grey, C. Thomas Howell, Harry Dean Stanton, and Powers Booth. Growing up, I wanted nothing more than to be a member of the Wolverines as this movie launches out of the gate as Soviet armies invade the U.S. while these kids are at school. A normal day turns into a nightmare, and watching these kids band together is filled with compelling drama. Sheen and Swayze, they do lead the show, but it really is a true ensemble effort that delivers an adventure that actually meant something with true ramifications. The stakes are high, these kids are forced to grow up together. It's as emotionally gripping as it is action-packed, and the journey of the Wolverines will always be cemented to me as an 80s classic. I'm staying in the action genre for my number 29 pick, a movie that just began the legend of Rambo when he returned home from war and just wanted to get something to eat, but they drew first blood in 1982, starring action legend Sylvester Stallone, Richard Crenna, and Brian Dennehy from director Ted Kotcheff. While not as flashy as its sequels, First Blood is a perfect blend of blistering drama and gritty action. Rambo comes home from the war with hope, and it's quickly shattered. Stallone delivers a commanding performance, and he captures the effects of PTSD with just a heartbreaking result. It really relies on the practical stunt work. It's, I would say, delightfully primal. It can pull you out into the rugged wilderness. Brian Dennehy is awesome as the dick-headed cop. Crenna slips in nicely to remind us routinely how much of a killing machine Rambo is. This one just starts with the emotional connection to the drama, then it ignites with explosive action as Stallone begins his era of the one-man army. I'm lightening the mood a little bit for my number 28 pick. I have a comedy with some balls because playing a round of golf at the Bushwood Club isn't confined to just the course. In the 1980 classic Caddyshack, starring Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, and Michael O'Keefe, directed by Harold Ramis. Now, Caddyshack is not without its flaws. The plot certainly is a bit of a mess with admittedly no real direction to it, but at the same time, it's also the definition of 80s silliness, and I think it thrives with a ton of quotable lines and comical jokes. I think Rodney Dangerfield steals the show as he wreaks havoc all over the Bushwood Club. Horny caddies deliver the sex and raunch vibe that the decade was known for with ease. Murray shines as the bumbling groundskeeper battling it out with a determined gopher, while Chevy Chase plays it comically straight amongst it all to just kind of result in a lighthearted, feel-good movie that was able to rise above its flaws with just a bulletproof sense of humor. Moving along to my number 27 pick is arguably one of the most iconic films in cinematic history. It's a film that was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and won 2 of them. I'm of course talking about 1980's Raging Bull from director Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro, Kathy Moriarty, and Joe Pesci. Raging Bull to me is one of the best boxing movies of all time. It's arguably Scorsese's best work and maybe De Niro's as well. I think it's a complete saga that feels unrelenting in its exploration of the troubled fighter Jake LaMotta. It's an intimate portrayal that isn't always easy to watch, but I think the direction from Scorsese keeps your eyes locked onto every frame of this movie. I think on the technical side it still holds up with plenty of visual appeal. You can really feel like you're getting sucked into a time capsule every time you watch watch this movie. Joe Pesci and Kathy Moriarty are fantastic as De Niro just disappears into the role, making Raging Bull not just an 80s classic, but a cinematic one with a timeless quality to it. Coming up next at number 26 is a story of a student and a sensei. He taught him the secret of karate lied in the mind and in the heart and not in the hands in the 1984 coming-of-age classic, The Karate Kid, directed by John G. Avildsen, starring Ralph Macchio, William Zabka, Elizabeth Shue, and Pat Morita. I can simply say Mr. Miyagi and Daniel San will always hold a place in my heart, and this movie will as well. It's a textbook structure, but the karate vibes of this movie, along with the performances, just make it a lasting movie. It's a true underdog story as LaRusso is just mentored by Miyagi, and their pairing to me is really up there with cinematic duos like Gibson and Glover. I think the movie delivers perfect waves of young love, redemption as LaRusso takes on the dreaded Cobra Kai. It's all set to just pumping 80s music, training montages, and a final fight at the All Valley Karate Tournament that will stand the test of time when it comes to fantastic final acts. Reaching the middle of my list is a mystical action adventure comedy monster kung fu ghost story from director John Carpenter. At number 25, I have Big Trouble in Little China from 1986, starring Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dunn, and James Hong. I don't think movies get more wild, eccentric, or over the top than this one, and that's exactly why I love it. It's unique, it's filled with vibrant characters and backdrops that create such a rich world for a story you want to escape into. And I mean, Kurt Russell is perfect as the leading man that subtly wasn't the leading man at all. I mean, unlike any hero in history, Jack Burton bumbles his way to success in this movie, and it's enjoyably laughable. Fantasy and martial arts create an atmosphere you just want to see more of. It's loaded with visual flair. This was a movie that took chances, and it blends computer and digital effects with just a nostalgic appeal, and anytime you sit back for this movie, it will take you away. Coming up next at number 24 is a film that claimed leisure ruled, and while the rest of us were just thinking about it, he borrowed a Ferrari and did it all in one day in the John Hughes classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off from 1986, starring Matthew Broderick, Alan Ruck, Mia Sara, Jeffrey Jones, and Jennifer Grey. Faking being sick and skipping out of school to watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off was a rite of passage in the 80s. Matthew Broderick just steals the show as the confident kid we all pretended to be at least once back in our school days. This is really the ultimate sick day movie, and it's filled with charming teen adventure and clever dialogue. John Hughes, like often in his career, was able to take the simplest concept, pretending to be sick from school, and he was able to turn it into a story filled with laughs and action, a whisper of romance, friendship, and growing up. It's a movie that can take you on a familiar ride, but with a touch of hyper reality, you can kind of escape into it as well. I mean, Ferris Bueller is a confident film. It's unassumingly bold, and anytime you watch it, it's just going to make you feel good and make you feel like you can take on the world. Moving along to my number 23 pick is a movie about a man who came to chew bubblegum and kick ass, but he was all out of bubblegum in another iconic John Carpenter hit, They Live from 1988, starring Hot Rod Roddy Piper and Keith David. Something I love about John Carpenter is his creativity and just his ambition overall, and no film shows it better in my opinion than They Live. I mean, Roddy Piper and Keith David, as unassuming as they may be, are a perfect duo that without those big leading man names were still able to command this inventive plotline. It's of course filled with all the 80s action, gusto, and masculinity and catchphrases that you could want, but it's also lined with a thought-provoking story, and I think that's what makes this movie so engaging and so memorable amongst all the others in the genre. It's a movie with two worlds, one with the glasses and one without them, and the blend of them in this story just makes it as adrenaline-filled as it is mentally consuming. Coming in at number 22 is another movie that just exudes the 80s, a film that felt the need for speed and took viewers to the danger zone in the 1986 Tony Scott classic Top Gun, starring Tom Cruise, Anthony Edwards, Kelly McGillis, and Val Kilmer as Iceman. I think this movie lives and breathes the 1980s. You get fighter jets, motorcycles, bravado, baby oil, sex appeal, fantastic music, and Tom Cruise in the center of it all. I think Top Gun is just filled with action and adventure and drama and camaraderie and plenty of emotion, and it just cooks it into a dish best served wearing aviator glasses. Tony Scott's direction is pristine. His use of lighting just evokes a sexiness that lures you into the world of the story. I think the cast is fantastic, with Cruise and Edwards serving up the perfect bromance. Cruise and McGillis serve up the perfect romance, and Kilmer shines as Iceman. I think the camera work will have you on the edge of your seat with a buffet of stunning aerial combat. I think Cruise would really cement himself as a leading man in this role, and Top Gun today is just as awesome as Top Gun was back in 1986 for creating a melodramatic adventure that anybody could be enticed by. And for the final movie in this video, coming in at number 21, I have a world-class horror film that took you to the deepest, darkest parts of your nightmares. I'm of course talking about the '84 Wes Craven classic, A Nightmare on Elm Street, starring Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, John Saxon, and Johnny Depp in his first on-screen performance. Where Friday the 13th and Halloween delivered quiet stalking and lurking and killing, Nightmare on Elm Street jumped into the genre to deliver out-of-the-box, imaginative horror with a touch of sinister charm. Freddy Krueger really splashed into the genre with a sadistic gusto, and Englund in the role to me is just pure gold. This movie delivered truly frightening moments as a group of kids are stalked in their sleep, and I think that fresh concept was able to create genuine intrigue and fear to blend with all the effective horror. I think the practical effects in this movie are still awesome to this day. They craft something that is just still visually unique despite all the advancements of technology that came up through the years. I think it really does keep a tight pace. You roll from one creepy moment to the next, and it's just a delightfully dark and gritty ride, all set to fantastic scoring that really builds an inauspicious atmosphere to complement the story perfectly to cement itself as one of the best horror movies of all time. And that concludes my video for today, guys. 10 truly classic films from the 1980s that still hold up excellently today. Thank you for watching, guys. 2 more videos to go until this series is a wrap, and I need to find something else to work on. It's been a blast so far, and it's only going to get better with these final films. So until the next video, diving into movies number 11 through 20, I'll see you at the movies.